And this is going to give us a really incredible texture when we demold this. Look at these formations, absolutely incredible. Right, we are back with another epic resin art video. So this one, again, same as the shampoo technique, we're going back and we are going back to the dish soap. The reason why I'm using the dish soap instead of the shampoo is that the dish soap washing up liquid, whatever you want to call it, wherever you're from, it's a lower viscosity. So the resin is going to sink a little bit quicker than what it does in the shampoo. And in this video, you've seen me do this before as a pendant, but we're going to do it in a completely different style. We are going to be making a small pyramid. I don't often make pyramids. If I do, they're small ones, and I just play around with different techniques. But this one is absolutely mind-blowing. I love the way this one comes out. And you may want to put something underneath the pyramid mold because things are going to get a little bit messy. Okay, we are going to begin by just pouring, not even halfway, maybe a third into the pyramid mold with the dish soap. And as always, with any pyramid mold, there is a really sharp point and there will always be a little bubble stuck at the bottom. So just work that out. So what we are going to be doing is dripping our UV resin into the dish soap and then curing it. I'm going to be using my handheld flashlight. That works best for this because you don't necessarily want the resin to fully cure as it's sinking, because we're going to be adding droplets, and as they sink and touch the other droplets that we've put in, we still need them to bond. So we're kind of part curing as we go. I mean, if you're going to try this, I would suggest definitely doing it on something small. Don't go and think, oh, this is a brilliant technique, I'm going to go and make a massive piece using this technique. Get used to the way that your resin sinks in the soap, and just play around with it for a little while first. Don't commit to anything big, just in case it goes wrong. So because it has a tip to the pyramid, I'm going to start with a blob in the middle. So I know that blob is going to sink and go into the tip of the pyramid. And as that begins to sink, I can just start applying more droplets around it so that as they sink, they kind of begin to touch each other. And then I can just wait for those to sink. I can go over the top of existing dots of resin. They're not going to merge because it has like a layer, a very thin layer of dish soap between the blobs. Again, this won't be possible with epoxy because they will merge. This will only work with UV resin. So I'm going to just continue adding UV resin dots and blobs. Once I'm happy they're kind of low enough in the mold, it's difficult, I can't show you from the side because this mold isn't translucent enough, but they will start to sink, and this is going to give us a really incredible texture when we demold this, almost like dragon's skin or cobblestones. You'll see it's absolutely incredible when we pop this out of the mold. And there is a chance, guys, I'm not going to lie, there is a chance you are going to have little bits of trapped dish soap in between, but it really doesn't matter. If you can get a completely clear dish soap, I couldn't, that would be much better because it would be less visible. So I'm probably going to have some little yellow blobs of dish soap trapped between my blobs of resin, but it really doesn't matter. It's still going to look absolutely incredible. So I'm going to take my flashlight now. I'm pretty certain most of the first droplets that we've put in have sunk towards the base. So all I'm doing is just giving the tip part of the mold a quick flash cure. Again, not a full cure, just to prevent them from merging fully. and then I can continue. So these ones at the top haven't really been affected by the flashlight as such, but they will bond together really nicely. You may, when you demold it, as you're playing with it to begin with, you may have one or two loose beads that kind of disconnect from the rest, but don't worry, because we can just bond those back in. So I'm going to keep going, and every now and again I'm taking my flashlight again towards the base area of the mold. I'm not going as high as the drops that I've just put in, and I'm just going to flash cure around the mold and then continue. And you'll find that you'll get to a stage where you need to add more dish soap. Otherwise the resin is not going to sink and form a nice round blob. It's just going to spread on the surface if they're not sinking, if that makes sense. Just make sure you're going against the sides also, and in the corners as you're going. This will keep the formation and the structure of the pyramid and the shape as you're building it. So I'm going to add dish soap and continue until I'm at the top. Now, as we get higher, the dish soap is going to start overpouring the sides. But again, it doesn't matter. It's absolutely fine. It's to be expected. So as I'm beginning to get higher, I'm bringing the light further up the side of the pyramid, but I'm still not touching the top layers of beads that I've placed in. So they're still sinking to touch the ones that I'm kind of flash curing a bit more. It will make sense when you try it, honestly. It's not as complicated as it may sound. So you will see in a couple of areas they've merged. I didn't want that to happen. That's just because I'm going a little bit too fast. So once I've got to this stage, it's almost pretty much at the top. I'm going to give these a better cure on the surface because I need to infill these gaps, these small gaps, to keep the base shape a little bit better. And these last drops are going to hold everything together in the base before I give that a full cure under my beast of a lamp. This will just hold everything together and just make sure there's no loose beads at the bottom. Any loose beads kind of in the middle as we've gone up are all going to be locked into place, all held together by the sides and the base, and everything is going to be fully cured. So I've applied my last few drops. You can see, like I said, there is going to be some mess that's overpoured. And I'm just going to give that a few minutes just to ensure those last drops sink and touch the others, so that when I cure them, they're going to lock everything into place. As always, massive shout out to my channel members, anyone who's bought me a coffee or a super thanks, and to all my subscribers. We are flying through the 100Ks now. I think we're just about to hit 111,000. So where did that 11,000 come from? It's absolutely flying. Thank you very much. Just going to add a few more just in these tiny gaps around the outside, just to make sure it's definitely got that base shape that I want. Otherwise it's going to look slightly odd. Any go over the sides is not so bad because I can kind of trim those areas up, but I do need a squared base. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is place that under the beast on full power, and I'm going to cure that for 2 minutes. Once that has cured, look, we've got some really interesting overspill shapes there. These can always go into a little pot for hiding in coaster layers or something, whatever you want. But we can now just pop that. I'm just going to rest mine on top of this cup, so any excess liquid, look at these formations, absolutely incredible. We're going to do something really, really cool with this. So I'm just going to leave that there for a little while just to drip off any excess, because we can pour that back into the bottle and use it again. But like I said with the shampoo, don't go using it again. Don't go using this for washing up your dishes. Label it up and keep it separate for your projects. Right, so that's been in there for a little while now. I'm going to just trim off the excess before I rinse this under some water, because I do not want any resin going down my sink, because it's not good for the environment. So I'm just going to make sure there's no loose sections before rinsing all this off. That is really strange. Look at that. No, I'm not keeping it on there. It's definitely got to go. Okay, look at this. It's all washed up and cleaned. You can see, as I mentioned, there are some trapped areas in there of some dish soap. I could, if I wanted to, drill in between the kind of textured effect and blast that out using a needle tip bottle, an empty one. Just squirt it through, squirt that air through. But I'm not overly fussed. It is what it is. Once we get some colour blasting through this, it's not really going to show. So now we have options. Now, of course, we have some gaps where resin could seep through if we were to put a base on this as such. But we can play around with different ideas. I've made one using vinyl. And just look at how that colour goes through the piece. Now, you don't necessarily have to adhere the vinyl to this because it's going to be a sitting ornament. You could use some cork or felt, cut out the area, the size, and you could, if you wanted to, change the colour base whenever you want. So you don't have to, if you don't want to, adhere it to the actual resin. You could use dichroic films, you could do all sorts with this, but I am, for the video, just going to choose a bit of vinyl. Look at that one. To show you with the dichroic films for little windows, you also get a really nice colour, but because this is a thin film, again, I think you'd need to either seal it in a layer of resin or cut the section out and glue it to a piece of cork just to keep it flat. But that's just an option for you. I'm just going to stick mine on. I'm just going to drizzle some UV resin over the vinyl, rest on the pyramid, and then cure it under the beast. Right, now stay with me. This is what it looks like as it is, and it really is stunning. So what I'm going to imagine, this is like a dragon egg, or, you know, you could do this as a coaster if you wanted to. I know it's fairly time consuming, but imagine a flat coaster with this kind of dragon skin or cobbled effect. But what I'm going to do next, some of you may not agree with, but you know what I'm like. Out comes some black acrylic paint. And I'm just going to put some in this pot. Grab my paintbrush, and I'm going to cover all of the sides. Once it's dry, I'm going to give it another coat, and you'll see why. I think this really finishes it off. You may not agree. Let me know in the comments when you see it. Right, so now my acrylic paint is dry. I'm just going to take a wet wipe and just rub over all of the sides to bring out the colour through the beads only, and the gaps will remain black. Doesn't take that long. Once the acrylic paint begins to dampen, it will start coming off a lot easier. So I'm just going to continue doing the whole thing. Right, are you ready for this? Are you ready for these results? I'm absolutely loving this. So let me know if you prefer it with or without the black finish. It is intense. The colour is incredible. I really like the black. I really do, and in different lights that really does look like it's got like an LED light inside. Not the perfect finish around the bottom, but it's kind of just playing around with ideas. This is one that I did yesterday with a different colour vinyl on the base. It's absolutely stunning. And of course, I couldn't finish this video without doing that coaster. Now, I'm seeing a rice cake, a very sparkly rice cake. So you can laugh if you want, but it's so unique. I've never seen anything like this done with Resin Art before. As always, give the video a thumbs up, drop me a comment. If you haven't subbed, it is free. Hit that button for me. This is crazy. I could work a bit more time. I had to get rid of the cork base because this come on a roll. It's just naturally curling back up again. So it's not really sticking to the sticky back of the vinyl. It was an idea. I hoped it would work, but it didn't. So, but for an idea, get rid of that. I think it's pretty incredible. I could really get into these gaps and chip off some more of this paint. It's getting late in the day though, and I want to go home. But it just shows you it does work on a bigger scale. But just start on a smaller scale first and just see how you get on. But there you go. Resin in dish soap gives some crazy effects. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you for the next one. Bye for now.